Now for our feature story of the day, the Fort Knox audit that can send Bitcoin to $5 million per coin. Let's break it down. As shared here by Simply Bitcoin, and this has been a very big topic because rumor has it, not rumor, but they're looking to audit Fort Knox, and even Trump, in his own words, as I shared in the previous story, has come out and said in 2015 he don't believe all the gold is there and that it's elsewhere. And I wouldn't be surprised either, because the United States Gold Reserve hasn't been audited in roughly 60 freaking years, whereas the Bitcoin network gets audited every 10 minutes. TikTok. Next block. So let's discuss some of this. And speaking of a $5 million Bitcoin, it was Michael Saylor who said Bitcoin will be unaffordable, predicting the $5 million price. He says it'll reach $5 million, citing three major catalysts, including the spot Bitcoin ETF, check, bank custody with lending, check, and fair value accounting for the BTC on the corporate balance sheet, which is official as of this year. Check. And in another headline, Saylor predicts MicroStrategy's market cap can hit 10 trillion if Bitcoin reaches 13 million, which is another one of his projections. Saylor agrees with projections that MicroStrategy's market cap could reach 10 trillion if Bitcoin were to hit 13 million. So first, let's start with the $5 million prediction, which he made. So yeah, on an X Spaces, he shared back when Bitcoin was roughly 90. Well, now it's 97. I think today it's like 95, but nonetheless, Saylor argued that even without any major regulatory or institutional breakthroughs, Bitcoin is already on track to surpass gold as the dominant store of value. It is going to be a grind up by a factor of 10 just because gold is broken. Facts. And Bitcoin is going to replace gold. I agree. Everybody in the universe knows now they need a non-sovereign store of value in the form of a bearer instrument. And with inflation concerns now a mainstream narrative, Saylor believes Bitcoin's role as an inflation hedge will drive its gradual ascent. Quoting him again, last year, people said inflation may be coming. Now the mainstream narrative has flipped to inflation is here. You need an inflation hedge. And according to him, this alone is enough to propel the BTC to $500,000 per coin. But three additional factors can send the Bitcoin price on a factor of 10x to $5 million. Let me know if you agree or disagree. Saylor believes the Bitcoin price skyrocketing to $5 million per coin if the three major catalysts unfold. And the first, he says, is the approval of the spot Bitcoin ETF, which we know was approved last year in January. It officially launched on the 11th, which would allow the institutions to make the large purchases seamlessly. Someone can go ahead and buy 100 million of the Bitcoin through a security, an ETF security. I think that's one. And that's precisely what the institutions have been doing, including Abu Dhabi recently making the announcement of owning $500 million virtually of the BlackRock ETF IBIT. The second major factor is banks custodying the BTC and offering loans against it, a move that would integrate Bitcoin into the traditional financial system and increase institutional demand. Your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. All that's a coming. Lastly, Saylor sees the fair value accounting for the Bitcoin on the corporate balance sheets as a game changer. If companies can report Bitcoin's true market value rather than being forced to write down the losses, it could accelerate adoption. I can mark it up and I can mark it down on my balance sheet based on fair value, the same way I handle Apple stock or even treasury bonds, whereas in the past, it was counted as a liability, which wasn't fair. And quoting him again, if the banks can hold this stuff in their balance sheet, then a whole new class of investors are going to buy it. People are going to put in millions and multi-million dollar orders to buy it as a treasury asset, and precisely what we're witnessing. And with banks enabling borrowing against the BTC at a low interest rate, he believes there is no reason for hodlers to sell. I mean, why would you sell your BTC if you can borrow against it and keep the pristine collateral for yourself? Nobody's going to sell it because there is no reason to sell it if you can borrow against it at SOFR plus 50 basis points. He concluded. So he does make a great point. Now, MicroStrategy, now known as Strategy B after the rebrand, increases Bitcoin holdings to 478,740 Bitcoin, practically almost 500,000 of the BTC, which is half of Satoshi's wallet, following the purchase of the recent 7,633 Bitcoin for 742 million in the week ending on February 9th. And now for the other prediction regarding 13 million. Here's what he had to share, quoting Saylor when he was interviewed by Patrick Bet-David. MicroStrategy is worth $73 billion today, and this was back November 19, 2024. Let me know if you saw that podcast episode. If you're saying 0.1% Bitcoin adoption today, it is going to 7%. That's a 700x, right? So if Bitcoin is at 90,000 today and it goes to 13 million, you're expecting a 144x MicroStrategy in 21 years. If I do 144 times 73 billion, you're estimating it to be a $10.5 trillion company in 21 years. Is that correct? So with that math, yeah, Bitcoin goes from 90,000 to 13 million. So multiply 13 million divided by 90,000 and it gets you the big number, according to Saylor. So yeah, 13 million, 5 million. What are your thoughts? Do you think that the gold reserves will actually be audited at Fort Knox, or do you think that will never turn into fruition? You guys let me know your thoughts